Good morning, Psycho. Oh, no, it's still good morning or good afternoon.
Good morning, Mark.
Mark,
We have the
yes.
best sommelier of the world with us.
Good morning.
Yeah, this is great to see, to hear. Yeah. So the live is also working, the social media platforms. We're there, that's good. For the people who are joining us step by step, you see that there is no possibility for you to use a chat function. I switched that off for security reasons. You can see us, but we can't see you. So you are in total privacy. There's no problem that something could be happening. And if you want to make questions, you're really welcome to do so. There is this small button below. You should see it there now, Q&A. It is if you have English settings. If you have other settings, it might have a different wording. There you can write your questions or just write hello in this moment, like Marianne did in the moment. And we will try to answer all the questions, but most probably we will answer the questions in the end of the meeting to have them very nice and concentrated together. Marianne is saying good morning, and he missed webinar number 2, asking if these webinars have been recorded. Yes, you can see them on the YouTube website or the YouTube channel of ASI, and also on the Facebook page of ASI. You can see all the recordings, and also you can follow it now. So just wait a little bit more. There are more guests entering. So this question and answer is the most important for our guests to put all their questions and to get a bit more knowledge about you, not the people you see, but you on the other side of our screens. I would now begin with a short poll. So that we can see who you are, and not personally who you are, but in which branch you're working, and from which part of the globe you are following us. So I just started this poll, so you can see what branch do you work in. So if you're from hotel, restaurant, catering, wine trade, education, freelancer, journalism, or whatever. Then the second question is from what part of the globe you're with us. And then the third and last question is how many people are watching this panel together with you or with you alone? Because, you know, we see the registrations, but we don't see how many people are together with you. So it's great. People are answering very quick. That's great to see. We'll wait a few more moments to give the people enough time, and then I will make a very quick introduction. I'm just sorting my mind in which order I will present the people you see, but maybe I'll shake the dices and let's see what comes up. So let's wait another 30 seconds, and I'm really proud that so many people are coming in so in time. Psycho just raised her hand. Hello, Psycho. Nice to have you with us. It's a great pleasure. I'm very happy, and I'm really looking forward also to our meetings we will have for the International Sommelier Day on June 3rd. We will do it in 3 sessions, so that all parts of the world can have it at a good time for them. So we had the poll is very well answered. I will stop the poll now, and then I will share the results with you so that you can see who is watching together with you. So 38% of the audience is coming from HoReCa, hotel, restaurant, and catering. Then we have 25% other, which is very open, wine trade and education, and some freelancers. For sure, North America, Middle America, Caribbean it would be a very tough time now. South America, for sure, there are some people for sure from wines of Argentina or from Trapiche who follow their people. That's great. Central Europe is the strongest, but Asia with 25%, Oceania with 8%, Eastern Europe very strong. That's fantastic to see. And 100% of the people are in quarantine or are watching alone without friends among. Yes, that is sometimes the problem. So we will now start the session, and we all know that we are in different times and difficult times, challenging times. The gastronomy is still closed down in most parts of the world, or is reopening step by step, but we don't want to look bad or we don't want to despair. We should look into the future with optimism and make the best out of the situation. And that was also the idea why we as ASI are organizing these panels, because during isolation and confinement, it's always good to meet people, even if it's only a virtual meeting like we do right now. And sharing the knowledge with the sommeliers around the world is one of the key points of the ASI goals. So here you are. That's why we are doing these sessions, to share knowledge, to support our sommeliers all around the world. Let me briefly introduce you to the partners which are now with us. And my gambling dices have said that I will start with Martin Cortese. He's Vice President Corporate for EMEA, which is Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and UK at Trapiche Winery from Argentina. Then we have Jean-Pierre Durand, Global Marketing and Communication Director at AdVini. Then we have Stéphane Vidal, Vice President Enology and Strategic Innovation at Vinventions, and Phil Crozier, who is Ambassador of Wines of Argentina. And there's one more person to be seen. This is Liora Levi. Liora is President of Nordvilkenverening, the Norwegian Sommelier Association. I hope
well pronounced, Per, well pronounced.
Thank you so much. And she's also head of ASI's Press and Communication department. So she is co-host and will now be leading the conversation of the gold partners. Leora, you want to take over?
Yes, thank you, Per. I think that I would like to introduce all of you in a little more in-depth manner. I would like you all to introduce yourselves. So if you could just briefly introduce yourself, all of you, and maybe starting with Jean-Pierre from AdVini.
Okay, nice to meet with you guys today. It's very special because usually in our wine world, we meet together, we taste together. So today we are together, but virtually. So for the ones who do not know me, of course, I was born in the Rhone Valley, and I was making wine with my grandfather since I was a teenager. And since I've been promoting the wine culture around the world, mainly for French wineries, I've joined AdVini 14 years ago. As you can see, AdVini is a collection of beautiful wineries and estates from France and South Africa, all of them with specific know-how. So maybe you're not familiar with the name AdVini, but you are probably familiar with Domaine La Roche in Chablis, or Maison Champy in Beaune, or Clos de l'Oratoire des Papes and Augier in Rhone Valley, or maybe Château Gassier in Provence. And if you go further to the west, in the Languedoc, the Vignoble Jean-Jean, going to Roussillon with Domaine Cazes and Clos des Polies, Rigal in Cahors, and you arrive in Bordeaux to see the beautiful estates of Château Passage d'Eau in Médoc, and Capéguier in Saint-Émilion Grand Cru. And then we do a big jump to South Africa, where we have collected the beautiful estates as L'Avenir, Le Bonheur, and Ken Forrester. All of this supported by families and managers, totally passionate about their terroir, and we will go further on a little bit later in the presentation.
Excellent, thank you, Jean-Pierre. Well, if you didn't know about AdVini and their estates by now, hopefully you will come out of this session a lot more wiser on the on AdVini. Martin Cortese, you are from Trapiche. Can you tell us a little bit about Trapiche?
Really, to begin with, very, very happy to be here, and as Jean-Pierre was saying, it's within this new reality that that is a great tool, and I think we're all very thankful, the Trapiche family in particular, that ASI is enabling all of us to be together and remain together and remain in touch. And I think it's about connection. It's about family and friends that got me into Trapiche. I've been with a company, with a group for over 10 years now. Always been a wine enthusiast, and especially through my years living in Italy. I'm half Italian, half Argentinian, as many of us Argentinians are. And I believe Trapiche is one of the longest standing wineries in Argentina, and we can go into the heritage and the being too new for the old world, being from 1883 and being too old for the new world. But I think that the dedication, the hard work, and this family sense that Trapiche has been lately being recognized with different awards, whether it's a Berliner Wine Trophy or the one that you see right behind me. So I have to say that today I hope that I can show you around a little bit with what we're doing in Mendoza and what we're doing in the coast, and all the passion and all the dedication that the entire Trapiche family it's bringing in.
Thank you very much, Martin. And Stéphane Vidal, you're from Vinventions, so you don't make wine, but you make closures. A little bit different.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Yeah, indeed, we don't make wine, but we are passionate about wine. That's for sure. So I'm Stéphane. I'm working for Vinventions since 2007, so it's quite a long time already. I joined the group as the Enology, the head of Enology for the group. So that was a bet from a closure solution to have an Enology team in-house, to make sure that we are really delivering the right solutions to the wine industry. And when I talk about solutions, I'm talking about closure solutions, right? So we are with Vinventions mainly covering three main big categories of closing solutions. The first one is about inner seals, like synthetic closures, but also plant cork. So we have two brands there, Syntec and Nomacork, that some of you may be familiar with. We have launched like 1 or 2 years ago a new category that is called micro-natural. So that's the name Suber. That's micro-natural. I will explain a little bit more when we talk about innovation later. And then we are also covering screw caps for the wines who deserved screw caps, depending on the location of consumption and things like this. So for us, it's very important that all this closing or sealing a bottle expertise is really supported by Enology. And so this is what I'm doing with my team, trying to give as many enological information as possible, so the fit of the closure and the wine evolution is the best that we can dream of. So I'm happy that in the call we have big customers of ours already, so that's cool, and I'm very proud to be part of this broadcast, and I wish you all a good seminar.
Well, thank you very much, Stéphane. I think it's very interesting for all the sommeliers to learn more about closures and all the different types there are. Last but not least, we have Phil Crozier, who is from Wines of Argentina. So not one wine producer, but a range of wine producers all over Argentina.
Hi, yeah, it's a great pleasure to be here. we're on a very rare day today. It's a beautiful day. I live in the north of England, so that doesn't happen very often. And so you can see that the sun is shining in my face. Perhaps I should be wearing shades, but I need my glasses. I'm the brand ambassador for Wines of Argentina. I've been in the job for about nearly a year and a half now. Before that, I was walking 16 restaurant floors in the UK. We're a non-profit organization made up of around 150 wineries, Trapiche being one of them. Our role is to promote Argentine wine around the world to both the trade and the consumer. My job involves lots of different roles. I'm a sort of front spokesperson for Wines of Argentina. My job is to help the trade as much as I can. And we do a lot of consumer and trade events. Obviously, that's been put on hold at the moment, but so we are now online doing this. The change was pretty quick for us. So great pleasure to be here. Looking forward to today very much.
Great. Thank you very much, Phil. Well, I think we should just start right away. And all of you are well-established entities within the wine trade, making wines or making closures for wine bottles, just as important. But why is it so important to you all to create this link with ASI? And maybe Vinventions or Stéphane, maybe you would like to answer that question first out.
Okay, let's shoot at it. Okay, so that's an interesting thing, you know, because we really believe that the partnership with Sommelier and ASI in particular is of super importance for us. Try to explain and give a little bit of context. Like I said, we believe in Enology to support the closure solution. So what we want to do first and foremost is to make sure that we respect the winemaker intention. Okay, the winemakers are doing great wines. They want the wine to be like they intend. With the closure, we need to ensure that we have zero defect so we can accompany the wine till the consumers. But in between, and very often in between the winemakers and the wine consumers, you have the wine promoters, let's say, like the sommelier, who may give a lot of, description of the wine, telling a little bit of the stories of the wine, etc. So we need to make sure that the story is still in phase with the winemaker intention, right? So for us, talking to the sommelier is as important as talking to the enologist and the winemaker. So we want to bridge the two communities that very often, honestly speaking, are not 100% connected, and that was a little bit of a surprise for us, you know, being a little bit as an outsider, a supplier to the wine industry. We realized that the two communities were not matching all the time. So that's interesting for us to try to do this kind of translation between the winemaker and the wine promoter or the sommelier. So that's really what we believe is important for us, because at the end of the day, the two communities are our customers in a way. So, and that's also something that is very important. We want this voice of the customer to be compiled together from the enologist, winemakers, from the sommelier, wine lovers, and make this all together so we are developing the right solutions for the future. So that's the way that we would like to bridge the two communities. Hope it makes sense.
It makes totally sense, absolutely. And Phil, what do you think is the reason why Wines of Argentina think it's important that they connect with ASI?
Well, I mean, it's a no-brainer for us, really. I mean, if you're trying to reach the sommelier community, there's no better way of doing that with the ASI. We're in the business of telling stories, and we need people to tell those stories and sell wines to the consumer. And it's part of the magic of purchasing wine. It's all very well doing it online and everything, but we need people to be able to tell those stories, to bridge that gap between the winemaker and the consumer. And so to reach the professional and high standards that sommelier have upon them, it makes total sense for us to be supporting the sommelier, particularly now, actually supporting the sommelier community as much as we can. I walked a floor for 20 years, many floors actually for 20 years with a restaurant group. I kind of helped to build the Argentine wine community category in the UK for many years, and it struck me right from the beginning that we need people to be able to communicate the magic of wine to consumers. We had a million restaurant visits every year in our restaurant group before I joined Wines of Argentina. So I learned a lot from that, and having the ASI to represent that community, that very large community around the world, with the high standards that they work at, and supporting that is vital to our success in building those relationships with the sommelier community.
Well, I agree with you, and I must say that also I've been watching a lot of things that Wines of Argentina have done in the past few years, and I see that you've also already been working with a lot of sommeliers who are connected with ASI, and they are great ambassadors for Wines of Argentina, both locally and also internationally. And I'm curious about you, Jean-Pierre, because to be honest, I know that cooperation between ASI and AdVini has been in the pipeline for quite some while. But now, just recently, you have finally become a gold partner of ASI. And what was the thing that tipped or changed your mind to actually agreeing into a partnership with ASI?
Well, we have willing to participate and to support sommeliers for a long time. But you know that we are kind of a newcomer in the wine world. If you compare our history, let's say the 20 last years, where we started to implement a very strict viticulture, very care to the biodiversity and the quality of our wines. So we wanted to come to your world, and we were very impressed by, in fact, all the work you, Liora, you, Pierre, but also Andres and Philippe Forbach. You are really working so hard to make this sommelier world happening and all your events. So we wanted to participate to that, but it was important for us to have sufficient maturity to come to you and to be able to support your community, not only by the wines, but also by all the education and all the, let's say, the power we can put into the relationship around the world. You know that we have a lot of people around the world able to support local associations, and definitely you are so important in connecting customers with our production. I mean, when we make wine, very often people will say it's a final product that goes to customers. It's not true. The reality is, you know about food and wine pairing, you know about the perfect ripeness of a wine in your cellar to be served that day, and the temperature of service. So you're so important in communicating the quality of what we're doing in the vineyards and in the cellar, that it was very important now for us to join you guys and to support you.
We very much appreciate that. And I know that also you have been working, well, a little bit with some of the ASISomms previously also. I know that the late Gérard Basset was a good friend of AdVini.
Andreas Larsson
so,
too.
Andreas, of course, yes, that's true. So and also Veronique. So you are already for a long time within the sommelier community, I would say.
And maybe with you too, many years ago in Norway.
That's true. And Trapiche has been partner of ASI for quite a long time actually now. And how are you finding the relationship with a sommelier organization working, Martin?
Well, we think definitely the partnership is key for us, and it's the one way to have as many of my fellow seminar participants here, partners, are saying, to have a better understanding of what the sommeliers as a community, as wine professionals, what are they facing, and how are they interfacing with the consumers. We are more and more trying to look into, and we're trying to develop even a team within the Argentinian domestic market setup to begin with, where we look at sommeliers as facilitators. We somehow need to reduce the geographical distance that separates us as a producer, Trapiche, all the way down in Argentina, in Mendoza, where everywhere else in the world, people might not have the opportunity to come to visit us. And as also Phil was saying before, and even especially, particularly today, there is, I think we all have a big question mark of how we're going to get out of this, and how the boundaries going to slowly go down. So I personally definitely see a restaurant a previous step than someone hopping on a plane and going to visit us to Mendoza. So definitely it's our obligation to clearly communicate towards the wine family, and the right speaker to have, as Phil was saying, and you and Phil and all of you guys know it firsthand. It's you're the best true ambassadors of any of us. You're the ones that can put and tell the story, and maybe it's our commitment that at least what we've been trying to do, even when hosting the opening ceremony and with Pajarol's Cup for the World Cup in World Championship that were held in Argentina. It's a way of making sure that we give you guys enough tools, enough communication, enough material. So hopefully the consumer gets not only the, Jean-Pierre was saying, the right product, the right temperature, the right mariage, but also with the story behind it of who and how many were thinking about them and about what they're about to have.
So true. Well, all of you sommeliers out there listening, and those of you who are part of a sommelier association connected to ASI, this is important for you guys too, to hear how you are actually lifting companies like Trapiche, Wines of Argentina, AdVini, Vinventions, and all of ASI's partner by just doing the job you do. So hopefully when everything is back to, maybe not normal, but back to life as we used to know it. You touched a little bit on the subject there, Martin, because the next question I would like to ask all of you is, working in a sustainable and responsible way to protect the environment as much as you can. I know that's something that's central to all of your businesses. But when life does go back to nearly normal, in what way do you think you will need to change the way you work today to continue this sustainable and responsible way of working? What do you think about that, Phil?
Well, it would be a great pity if we didn't learn something from this, you know, with this catastrophe that's going on. I think we need to see some positives coming out of this. We're a very young company with very few resources. We, aside from the fact that we have a very small head office in Mendoza, the rest of the team work from home. And of course, we're very used to working virtually because we're spread all around the planet. So from that point of view, we are working very responsibly. And I think any ideas of how people work and how they operate, this pandemic has brought that into sharp focus in terms of how you treat your employees, what you've been able to do for them, how the environment is affected, whether you're still able to continue to work in vineyards, etc., etc., etc. And so I think any idea that people were going to be working in a much more responsible and sustainable way has been accelerated by this. The fact that we're doing this webinar today is testament to that. So I think it would be a great pity if we didn't take some comfort from the fact that we actually all can do something about this. I mean, if you look at what's happening to emissions and how the planet has kind of benefited from this in a way, in terms of being able to physically see along the skyline of London in the morning, for example, how much cleaner the air is. Examples like this. I think that consumers can see that the benefits of it are very real, and everyone's experiencing it for themselves. So I think that there will be quite a acceleration of people going organic. For example, Argentina is home to around 6,300 hectares of organic vineyards. And I think that a lot of the big and the small wineries, having seen this pandemic bring everything into focus, will start accelerating, going towards a much more sustainable way of working. And in Argentina, for example, probably the biggest thing that they would look at is the use of water. Of course, the climate is changing, and so how you use your water is going to become very important. We as an organization are going to be obviously moving everything much more online. I think we'll also be looking at how much we travel. We're in a business that demands that we can travel as much as we like to see firsthand vineyards, speak to winemakers, etc., etc. But I think that with the amount of caution that there will be after the pandemic finishes and life starts to return back to normal, I think we'll start thinking a little bit more about how much we travel and also how we travel and how we get involved. So I think things will change back to normal slowly, but I don't think they'll ever be the same. I think we'll be have fewer resources. When you have fewer resources, we tend to think a little bit more about how we use those resources. And so I think that will lend itself also to a much higher degree of sustainability. If you look at consumers, I can speak for the UK, those companies that have behaved very responsibly have been very keen to advertise that. And that will bode them well in the future when we come out, because it's just the kind of thing that consumers are looking at now.
Well, yeah, well, there are a lot of things to be thinking of and a lot of aspects as to how we can improve and do better sustainability wise and responsible wise as well. Stéphane, how do you see the future for Vinventions in all this?
We see a very great future for Vinventions. No, just kidding, but for sure, there's a lot of learning during this very, I would say, weird period, because, you know, some of us, we were not really affected, but at the same time, we were being locked down like others, etc. So that was a little bit strange. And internally in the company, in our organization, we said, okay, should we freeze everything? Should we, on the contrary, try to speed up things? And in fact, this is what we decided to do. We decided to really accelerate some of the discussion that we were having, especially on sustainability. We took advantage of the months of activity that were a little bit slowed down and to stay home, etc., to organize a lot of workshops like we are doing today, virtual workshops. We were a little bit scared at the beginning that, okay, maybe this will not give the outcome that we think we could get when we are all together in a room. Well, at the end of the day, that was the same thing, same efficiency, maybe better, we don't know, but it seems that that was really great. And in fact, we decided to accelerate our sustainability program. So we had a lot of ideas in our pipelines, and we decided to accelerate that. So two main things, I would say, in terms of our product lines. The first one is that we decided to go ahead with a new plan and trying to do closures. So today we have the plant corks. We are using sugarcane as the raw material to transform that into the polymers that we need to have the elasticity, the permeability to oxygen that we need to have in terms of closures. And so now we decided to, instead of starting from sugarcane, try to start from grape alcohol. Okay, so let's try to see if we can be a little bit of, and I'm sorry, I know it's not 100% circular in the way that people are talking about circular economy, but at least circular to the wine industry. So from wine back to wine, right? In terms of closures. So this is something that we are going to start really now seriously. So hopefully some good news to be shared with you guys in the next discussions. So that's the first one. The second one is I talked about micro natural closures with our Suber, and here we really want to accelerate that as well, because we have already integrated biodegradable compounds in our formulations, and we want to become 100% biodegradable. So that's really, there's a lot of innovation, there's a lot of research to be done, but this is really what we embark upon, and we really think that we have a very important role to play in everything that is, around this sustainable packaging that is everywhere. So it may seem that an inner seal or a cap is very super small compared to the footprint of a bottle, for instance, but we believe that every player has to do his job, and this is what we want to do. And then the last one that is less research oriented, let's say, but more in the frame of our relationship with the sommelier. We started with Philippe Nusswitz to do some education program about the closures, the different type of technologies that are used, the different benefits, advantages, inconvenience that could be linked to some closure solutions. And we put together some sort of a master class. The content is done. We have exchanged that with Philippe Nusswitz. So maybe we are going to do that digitally. Who knows? Through webinars and things like this. But this is something that we want to do as well, because we have a lot of questions from your community about, yeah, but okay, well, is it good? Is it not good? What's the role of a closure? So we put the foundation together in some 20-25 slides, but it gives a pretty good view about what can be achieved by thinking twice about the right closure selection, and have no preconceived ideas about this one is better than another, but has to be really taken into consideration with the rest of the wine quality parameters.
That is very, very interesting, and I think you have a lot of goals for when things are back to normal, and that's
probably
great.
Too many.
No, well, I always think that it's better to have too many goals and realize at least maybe half of them or 2/3 than not having any goals at all. So hairy goals are always great.
Thank you.
Phil mentioned water, and Argentina, of course, always had lack of water, and you have to be careful with the water you spend. How are you thinking these days in Argentina for Trapiche wineries? I mean, not all of your wineries are located in Mendoza. You also have wineries other places in Argentina.
Yeah, exactly. So let's say, if I was to say upon of the water issue, it's something that Trapiche has been looking into and dealing with for more than a decade now, that we have our own water recycling and recovering our own water and reusage of even partial part of the water in irrigation. So we've been trying now for a bunch of years, for more than a decade, to put the water to good use, if we want to call it that. And if I was to link also with what Stéphane was saying, when this quarantine started, and Argentina was one of the countries that went into full lockdown, and even before the government in Argentina made the decision, Peñaflor, or Trapiche in particular, having an eye a little bit on a broader spectrum, with people like me being based away from Argentina, the company decided to start taking steps to, let's say, take care of its own family and expanding that to the community. And when I say this, is that not only protection protocols and sanitation protocols and health protocols were instated within the company. Let's all keep in mind that this started arriving to Argentina, where Argentina was in the middle of harvest. So it was quite a dramatic moment, because a lot of the people that were working were fundamental, were performing tasks that were irreplaceable. So within all that, and again, linking to what Stéphane was saying, we have produced 40,000 liters of alcohol that has been turned into sanitizing gel. That actually started as a program, obviously, for our Trapiche family, but then was extended to the local communities with particular focus on health and education organizations in Mendoza, Salta, Catamarca, San Juan, and Buenos Aires. And through a number of NGOs, we're trying to facilitate, let's say, a little bit more isolated communities where this isolation is made them even more isolated. I'm sorry to be redundant, but that's the truth. To implement schooling programs and health assistance programs. So right now, we have implemented a joint development virtual education program in 6 schools in Mendoza. And all of these are, in a certain way, also looking towards the future, because it's a way of, sticking with our community, but also for them to understand that there is much more than what we do, that it's just wine.
Well, I think that it's very nice to hear that large wineries such as Trapiche actually not only work to help themselves during this very difficult period, but actually do a lot of things for both for the local communities, but also in making the or helping out with the anti-bac issue and things like that. So that's great. Jean-Pierre, I know that a lot of the AdVini estates, they are already not only organic, but even biodynamic. And are there any specific plans for the future on more sustainable ways of working? Or are you maybe looking to receive less visitors? Because I know that AdVini has been very, very generous always in receiving sommeliers to learn more at their estates. How do you feel about that now, seeing that we shouldn't travel as much?
Yes. So first, thank you, Liora, to tell about it. Yes, at AdVini, not only we want to be known for the quality of our wines and our viticulture, but also for the specific economical, environmental, and social model that we have developed together with our families, our managers, and our people on the course of the last 20 years. So we have banned all chemicals and like herbicide and pesticide for more than 15 years now. And obviously, during that period of quarantine, we stopped traveling, and we had a chance to go back to the vineyard quietly and to realize how much important it is to have its own environment and to protect those territories. The second step we realize is how much important it is to be within your community responsible for many things, because very often when you are in full activity, you don't realize that there are needs. And Martin was talking about what they gave for hospital, but it was the same in France. No mask, no liquid. So it was important for us to be able to source some of them and to give to local authorities, to local doctors. That was important. The second thing we realized is South Africa, you have no protection for the workers during those periods. And so it has been like a social response from our workers in France to sustain workers in South Africa. And that was just unbelievable. So it's important that we all consider that whatever size we have a role to play in this new economy, new era. And definitely, for sure, we are probably going to travel differently. You know, it used to be a time we go to Hong Kong for 2 days and then back to New York for another day. Look at Andre's program on the last 2 years. This is not sustainable. Huh? This is not sustainable. So the big gathering that we have been used to join, all those testings and contests around the world, probably that will change a lot. And so what we started to do as today with the webinar is to produce virtual materials so people can still have their visit of the different wineries. And so we started with Domaine La Roche or Clos de l'Oratoire des Papes. We have 360 videos, so people can actually visit the vineyards and have a talk with the winemaker. So all these materials are going to be put in the common basket for people to enjoy. And our local offices are going to develop materials like in Montreal. Hélène Dion is very close to the Sommelier Association, and she is giving courses and materials and sampling, because sampling is very important for the young sommeliers in particular. So
Absolutely.
this will be organized by our different offices around the world, and our winemakers will be online. We started already with Lucy and a bunch of sommeliers in the Netherlands. They spent 1 hour talking, and they had the same sample, and they were tasting and talking about the property. So definitely this is going to change a lot. And I also think that our industry, together with the restaurant people, are going to change the way we see the world and the way we are operating with wine lovers and food lovers. Just one example, Pierre Villa, the Petit Bistrot in Paris, he opened his cellar on a website for people to buy bottles, because why not selling bottles? By the time he was able to organize himself for selling food also in the click and collect. So all this is going to change, and probably we will do that together.
Well, I hope that we will not stop traveling totally, but it makes a lot of sense what you're all saying. And I'm very happy to see that everyone is adapting also through webinars and tastings locally through local offices. So, I mean, you are all spread all over the globe. So it's
Liora, if I may, the way to change traveling. When I started in the business in Burgundy, I had the chance to meet with Mr. Mommesen. When he was traveling in the early 20th century, he was traveling by boat to America and then by train. And he will go for 1 month or 2 months, going cities by cities. So it's maybe an example to follow.
Maybe we are going back to where we came from in the first place. Time is flying. We need to move on. You almost more or less answered this question, I think, Stéphane, because we asked you beforehand on maybe if there was something that you wanted to share with us that's new for your company, maybe a new product or a new wine or a new winery, anything. And Stéphane, I imagine one of your news would be this new closure made of grapes or grape alcohol.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, indeed. This is the main innovations for sure, and that is really something that we think is at the core of what we have to do now, is a mix of sustainability and innovation. Everything has to be linked together. So we really hope that we can launch this new line of product very soon. The idea would be to be closer to one of the needs as well of the industry, because there's some volume of alcohol that will be available. Unfortunately, I would say in some countries, which is not a good sign. So today we know that some of this alcohol is used for the hydroalcoholic gels and things like this. So that's for sure. But then there's also some possible new valorization of this alcohol. And then if we could, that would be a wine closure, right? A closure made from wine for the wine, and that's very important. And also keeping in mind what we want to achieve, right? At the end of the day, that we are closer to our customers. That's very important. We want to really understand their needs. We want to behave like they behave. Okay, for us it's very difficult to say, okay, we have good practices in viticulture and things like this. No, we can't. But okay, can we try to get closer to some of the concern they have, the constraints they have, and so we can co-develop together. That would be really nice to achieve that. And the same thing about yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I think already your name, Vinventions, it's already innovative and telling a story about you wanting to be close to the trade even though you don't make wine, and your product is just as important. And I love the way of circle of life of the grape, so turning the grape alcohol into a cork. That is definitely something we would like to share with not only people watching today, but something we will share also later in our stories on Instagram. So everyone should follow that. What about Trapiche? Do you have any new breaking news you would like to share with the sommeliers today?
Oh, breaking news. I think I can divide that in three. So one will be this award that we have here above my head, we're planning a launch of, let's say, new full range for 2021. I wouldn't say celebratory, but it's going to be linked to this award. Then for us, very, very exciting is the development that we're still having and carrying along with Costa y Pampa. That is our project on the Atlantic coast, still in a very detailed, very small scale with a lot of thought into grape varieties are maybe not that common to link to Argentina. For us, it's a fantastic area being a Vincla 1 zone. We already have Sauvignon Blanc. We did a test that I think Bill got to taste actually of Alvarinho that now we managed to have to be, let's say, launching a little bit more seriously in 2021, and hopefully again coming soon. I think I could give 2 spoilers to winemaking and marketing department with a Pinot Grigio and Pinot Meunier coming also.
Ooh, very nice.
Very small assortment, but I think it's another way of this let's say explorer spirit that Trapiche has of not sitting, let's say, only in Mendoza and let's say and continue to look elsewhere and to look at it differently, and in that sense also challenging a very solid line for us. That was the Terroir series single vineyards Malbecs that have been around since 2002 with the first vintage. We're now, let's say, officially and formally launching 2 Chardonnays, one from Gualtallarí and one from La Consulta, that is new and it's good news. And also a Cabernet Sauvignon will be joining the Terroir series family. So
wow,
yeah,
that is not one breaking news. That's a lot of new exciting products.
Well, you know, you lock in the winemakers and then beware.
Exactly. So what about AdVini? Do you have any new exciting launches coming up?
Well, as you can imagine, with how many wineries we have always a lot of programs going on, and people are very creative. First is a tribute we're going to pay to Maison Champy, established 3 centuries ago in Bonn.
Oh, wow.
So not a young house, this one. We have opened a visitor center that is dedicated to the house, of course, but also to pay tribute to the work of a very famous scientist, Louis Pasteur, that came to Maison Champy in the late 19th century, because Napoleon III asked him to understand a little bit better about the alcoholic fermentation. So there is a very interesting exhibition about his work in this place. So we should have had a very beautiful event that has been postponed to next year, as many all the big events in the world. So this one will be for next year.
And
yes.
And this bottle, is it obviously a small quantity only for the restaurant trade, maybe, or?
Oh, so regarding the exhibition and the work of Pasteur, there will be no specific launching of wine. It will be really about understanding what Pasteur came to understand in this era. Now, in terms of launching, Domaine La Roche is launching this year the 2018 vintage of Réserve de l'Obédience. You know, it's a special cuvée of Les Blanchots that is designed with each year a different winemaker together with a sommelier. And 2018 has been crafted with Andreas Larsson, so one of yours.
Good friend of the house.
Yes. So this year will be also the first vinification of Corrègy from Clos de l'Oratoire des Papes in white. You know that we have planted a specific plot just for Corrègy white, so that will be the first vintage. And if you come to Bordeaux, you will see in Château Capet-Guillet, that is now into organic farming, we are going to develop a special plot in permaculture technique. So it's totally new and very interesting and very exciting. So we're doing that with our people and Stéphane de Renoncourt. And this is something I encourage you to come and visit. Probably we will taste the result just, let's say, 10 years down the road. So that's for France. And in South Africa, we are duplicating a program that is now very well established in France, is to support young people to get into the wine business. So we want to support young ones to establish themselves as winemaker, and we give them not only money, but support in terms of communication techniques. And so this program is going to be launched in South Africa this year.
Exciting news, a lot of news. What about you, Phil? What about Wines of Argentina? Do they have anything special they want to communicate to the Somms this now?
Right now I'd be deep in mud serving wine at music festivals, which is normally our summer season, but obviously we're not going to be doing that now. But just before this all happened, we just launched a new website and invested very heavily in that. So if you get the chance to go to there, there's a lot of maps and information that people can use when they're using it for education, which is what we're in the business of doing. We're also taking part in the world's first online virtual wine fair coming up. We have a series of seminars from the wonderful Paz Levinson, who is going to be concentrating on some of the more esoteric parts of Argentina. This week she'll be talking about the Atlantic and the far south of Patagonia, and last week she did one on very high altitudes in the north, in Jujuy and in Salta, in the northern part of Argentina. So trying to highlight different parts of Argentina, and they've been very successful. I've been doing videos on IGTV, which if you go to the Wines of Argentina IGTV, trying to talk about different aspects of Malbec. Just as this happened, we were just starting a Malbec World Day campaign, which we very quickly took online and to support the independent wine trade. And that's something that's very positive that's come out of this, is how well the independent wine trade is doing around Europe, because people are now going local. So we're doing quite a lot of work to help that. And continue to talk about regionality in Argentina, and talking about the young talent that's there. Yes, so it's doing the same, but moving it a lot more online.
Well, I must say that Wines of Argentina has always been a very good with their maps and all their information. Watching Paz Levinson doing her masterclasses is always very interesting, as she is extremely knowledgeable and a great ambassador for not only for Wines of Argentina, but for wine in general. She is really a great mediator. We have one more question, but we are very, very short on time. So if you could all be extremely quick. I just really want to take this last question to finish on a happy note. I always believe that it's very important to enjoy wines from other regions and other countries than the region that you are all based in. So just to all of you, very quick, you have 10 seconds to name a region that you really love to drink wine from, starting with you, Martin.
So with me, it's quite easy because of my last name, Cortese, Piemonte.
Piemonte, okay. Stéphane?
Yeah, for me, it's same thing. Probably not as specific as Piemonte, but let's say Italy in general. But also some interesting things to be discovered from countries like Morocco. Interesting.
Oh, that's interesting.
Good.
What about you, Phil?
Riesling, Germany, Pfalz. 2 bottles on a Sunday, come up smiling on a Monday.
Well done. Well said. What about you, Jean-Pierre? Nothing French, nothing South African?
You know, that's about the very traditional things. I really like disruptive initiative. So I would encourage you to discover a white Cabernet Sauvignon from Chateau Moser in China. That's fantastic.
Oh, wow. That's something to note. Well, thank you all so very much for answering all our questions. And Per is back to do some Q&A from the audience.
Yes, hello. First of all, Phil, thank you very much. Riesling from Germany. You know, this is a double glass from Pfalz area where they drink a lot of Riesling from. So I prefer the Riesling rather from a proper glass, but yeah, it's a great region. Okay, sorry. There were quite a lot of questions coming in through social media. So I'll start up with a question from Phil. Why did Argentinian wines wait so long, so many years before making noise on the international wine scene?
Well, Argentina didn't start exporting its wines until 1994. So, you know, it's a very new to, it first went to the United States and then came to Europe. So we didn't really start receiving wines from Argentina until the mid-90s. It was difficult to promote something that didn't exist until that time. So even though it's a very old winemaking country, you know, it's 400 years of winemaking history, it's only really been available for export in Europe and the United States in the last few years. So that's what most people perceive from Argentina. It's a very new winemaking country. It's a very old winemaking country. It's just that these wines have only been available in the last few years. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that makes absolutely sense, because without export, it doesn't really make sense to promote it.
Difficult.
Okay, there's a question from Joe in Singapore to Stéphane. Can synthetic corks be used for vin de garde?
Yes, of course they can, even if some people have this in mind that it cannot. Of course it can. We have different sorts of synthetic closures, and that's very important to really think twice, like I said before, because you have it's all based on the permeability to oxygen. So we all know that wine is evolving based on the oxygen amount that it will react with. So that's very important to take permeability into consideration. We have I was you know, giving the name of Ferme Rouge in Morocco is now closing the Mamounia reserve wine with one of our plant cork, which is called Reserva. Very low permeability, very nice looking cork, and you know, we have customers trusting us for wines more than 15 years of age, so there's no issue. But you need to think twice, especially about the type of wine, the amount of oxygen at bottling, and the permeability of the closure. These three together, then you can really make good decisions.
Thank you very much, Stéphane, for this in-depth answer. Very good. And we have a question from Japan, from Xiang. I hope I pronounced the name correctly. Sorry if not. To Trapiche. Malbec had been the flagship grape from Argentina. What is the next one? How do you see the future of grape growing in your landscape, especially with the climate change?
Well, I think this link a little bit to what Phil was saying. I think that Argentina carried the Malbec flag proud and high, and I think we still have a lot of Malbec, a lot to show of Malbec. It's yet to be shown with different regions, different origins, different styles of winemaking. But Cabernet Sauvignon has been historically, actually, until not too long ago, the largest, most implanted grape variety together with Chardonnay. So I think a lot of Argentinian whites have been, I think, surprising wide and many in award givings and with sommelier tasting. So I will go, if I have to keep it that way, I would say more Malbec yet to come, and a lot to focus on the different regions, Chards and Cabernet family, let's say, both Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc.
Thank you, Martin. Phil, do you have any things to add? Other grape varietals you see?
Well, we have our own, which is Cortese. Please, it's a wonderful grape. We're very proud of it. We have 18 different grape varieties which are indigenous to Argentina. We call them the Criollas. I think there's a big future in that, especially as we start looking into the past of Argentine winemaking. As we mentioned earlier on, there's only sort of 20 years, 25 years that we've started seeing these wines, but there is a past beyond that. And I think we have a lot of these old varietals that we especially young generation winemakers, are trying to make something of. It's great. It's very encouraging that we have all these young winemakers that are looking after the patrimony of Argentina. I would agree with Martin. It's a Cabernet Franc for me is a great variety that is doing outstandingly well, particularly in the cooler parts of the Uca Valley. But also the whites. There's been a lot of work on white winemaking in the last few years, and I think you'd be surprised at how good the white wines are. We're seeing some Rhone varieties now coming into Argentina. Chardonnay is really excelling in some regions, and I think the standard of Chardonnay from Argentina is always amazing value to quality. Yes, I think the Cabernets, Martin's right, I think they have a huge future.
Cool. Very warm hello from Christer Bengtsson, saying he loves Durand, so he's on your line. Great to hear. And there's a question for Jean-Pierre. I heard about your winemaking competition, Concours Vigneron et Terroir. I think it is a great initiative. Are you only French wine focused? But I heard in between that you also have in South Africa wine growing.
Yeah, we just opened it in South Africa. The aim is for all our wineries to detect locally young people that have established their estate a couple of years before, and if they need help, they are good to be in the contest. And so they work for 1 year with students from Montpellier Agronomy University. And after 1 year, they spend a day with us, with the executive committee of AdVini, shaping their program. And they go in front of a jury. In the jury, you have famous journalists, sommeliers, and wine consultants. And the idea is to have 1 or 2 projects that are going to be sustained in terms of euros, but also in terms of know-how. And so we keep relationship with them. We are the 6th year in France, and now they are like a small informal association, and they are promoting their wines all over the world now, and we are supporting them. We just launched the program in South Africa, and of course we will be very happy to open new countries for that.
I think this is a fantastic initiative to support also others to grow knowledge in the entire scene, not only for your own sake, but also for the development of all winemaking. Very cool.
And very important, there is no commercial relationship in between them and AdVini. They're totally separate, and we want them to be absolutely free. So go on the website, YouTube, you have their beautiful movies about them.
Wow, very cool. Olga from Ukraine is asking also you, Jean-Pierre, how do we represent you as AdVini? Beaudelet, Rhone Valley, what is your, let's say, identity?
Yeah, the identity is the philosophy behind it. I mean, if you look at the French wine tradition, you have families all over the different regions established for centuries, and you have also newcomers. And these newcomers, the most important is what is the meaning of this venture. So our meaning is to have local managers passionate about their terroir and implementing the AdVini philosophy, which is about sustaining the agriculture on long term, having projects not for yourself, but for the next generation. Do good things around you for the local community and go around the world and tell the good story. So that is our philosophy. It's not about a particular marketing things. It's really a philosophy that has been shared in between family and families, shareholding, and the managers and the workers at AdVini.
Thank you so much. Great questions, great answers, great in-depth views to your philosophies, your thinkings, what is coming up. So we are almost in time. We made a bit more than 1 hour. Sorry for that, but I think the questions and what you told us was so interesting. We could not cut even more. There will be a second session tonight. I'm really looking forward to seeing the 5 of you tonight again, and it will be the same questions from our side, but let's see if the answers are the same, and let's see what questions come from the audience tonight. So thank you, and see you tonight for the second session. Bye-bye.
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 Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
I thank you.